I stood at the altar, hands clasped behind my back, breathing steady. The church was packed. 200 faces, all watching me wait. The pianist had looped through the same melody 3 times now. My best man, Derek, shifted beside me, whispering something I didn't hear. Then I saw her. Halena appeared at the church doors, radiant in white lace, her father's arm linked with hers. Relief flooded through me. She was here. She was real. This was happening. 3 years of building toward this moment. Every sacrifice, every compromise, every promise we'd made tangled up in bedsheets and kitchen conversations about forever. She took 5 steps down the aisle. Then she stopped. Her head turned sharply toward the entrance, where a man stood in the shadows of the doorway. Tall, disheveled, wearing jeans and a leather jacket to a formal wedding. I couldn't see his face clearly from where I stood, but I saw hers. The color drained from her cheeks, her lips parted. She let go of her father's arm. "Halena?" Her father's voice carried across the sudden silence. She wasn't looking at him. She wasn't looking at me. She was staring at this stranger like he'd risen from the dead. And then she ran. Not toward me, toward him. Her heels clicked rapidly against the marble floor, the train of her dress dragging behind her as she rushed back up the aisle. The collective gasp from the guests felt like air being sucked from the room. I stood there, frozen, watching my bride throw her arms around another man at the entrance of our wedding. Derek grabbed my elbow. "Kevin, I see it," I said quietly. They were talking urgently now, her hands on his chest, his on her shoulders. She was crying. He was shaking his head. The guests began murmuring, whispers building into a wave of confusion and scandal. I don't hate people immediately. Hate takes energy I don't waste anymore. Helena's mother rushed toward them, her face twisted in horror. The pianist stopped playing. The officiant beside me cleared his throat awkwardly. Everything had fractured, and I was standing at the center of broken glass, bleeding but not yet feeling the cuts. Then Halena turned back toward me. Her mascara had run, black streaks down her perfect makeup. She looked at me across that impossible distance and mouthed something I couldn't understand. "Give her a minute," someone called out. Her cousin, I think. A minute. They wanted me to give her a minute while she comforted her ex-boyfriend at our wedding. Because that's who he was. I realized it the moment I saw her face. Nathan. The one who'd left her devastated 2 years before we met. The one she'd cried over in my arms during our first month together, swearing she'd never let anyone hurt her like that again. The one she'd promised was ancient history. I unclenched my jaw and looked at Derek. "How long has she been out there?" 3 minutes. 3 minutes that felt like 3 hours. When she finally started walking back, she wasn't alone. Nathan followed her inside, and she led him to a pew in the back row. She sat him down, said something else to him, touched his face. Touched his fucking face, then straightened her dress and turned toward me again. The guests were openly talking now, no longer bothering to whisper. Phones were out. Someone's aunt was filming. Halena approached the altar like nothing had happened, her smile shaky but determined. "I'm so sorry," she whispered when she reached me. "He just showed up. I had to—" "Start?" the officiant asked nervously, looking between us. I looked into Helena's eyes. They were pleading, desperate, full of some explanation she thought would make this okay. "Yes," she said. "Start." Some people think love means accepting anything. The truth is, it means knowing when to stop accepting. The officiant began the ceremony. Helena's hands trembled in mine. Behind us, I could hear Nathan's presence like a thunderstorm on the horizon. Every person in this church was holding their breath, waiting to see if I'd actually go through with it. And I let them wonder. I played my part perfectly, said my lines when prompted, looked at her with the same adoration I'd practiced in the mirror. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, the silence was deafening. Nathan stayed seated. Then came the vows. Kevin Alexander Hayes, do you take Halena Marie Bennett to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do, I said clearly. The officiant turned to Halena. Halena Marie Bennett, do you take— Wait. My voice cut through the ceremony like a blade. Everyone froze. I released Helena's hands and took one step back, then another. Kevin? Her voice was small. I turned to the officiant, my voice steady and cold. Continue the ceremony. I'm sorry? Finish the vows, I said, but not with her name. Helena's face went white. What are you doing? I looked at her then, really looked at her, and felt nothing. That scared me more than the anger would have. I'm marrying the woman I thought you were, I said quietly. The one who would never leave me standing at an altar to run into another man's arms. The one who wouldn't bring her ex-boyfriend to our wedding and expect me to pretend it's normal. Continue the ceremony. Just don't use her name. That woman doesn't exist. Kevin, please. She reached for me. I stepped back again. The officiant stood paralyzed, looking between us like we'd both lost our minds. You can't do this, Halena said, her voice breaking. We're getting married. No, I said, you're watching me move on. In real time. In front of everyone who came to witness our love story. I turned to Derek. Ring. He stared at me. Kevin, maybe we should— The ring. He handed it over slowly. I held it up so the light caught the diamond. Then I walked to the first pew where Helena's younger sister sat. I placed the ring in her palm and closed her fingers around it. Sell it, I told her. Or keep it. I don't care. But it was never meant for the woman standing at that altar. Stop, Halena sobbed behind me. Kevin, stop, let me explain. I turned back to face her, and my voice dropped to something colder than I knew I possessed. You had 3 years to explain things. 3 years to tell me if Nathan still meant something. 3 years where I loved you more than I've ever loved anything, and you— My voice caught. I steadied it. You waited until 200 people were watching to show me the truth. I used to believe loyalty was proven in big moments. Now I know it's the small, unwitnessed choices that matter. He showed up unannounced, Halena said desperately. I didn't know he'd be here, I swear. He said he needed to talk, that it was an emergency. And you left me, I said simply. At our wedding. You chose him. In the moment you were supposed to choose me forever. You chose him. I came back. To finish the performance, I said. Not because you wanted to marry me. Because 200 people were watching and walking away would have been too embarrassing. She flinched like I'd struck her. I looked past her to where Nathan sat in the back, his head in his hands. He looked broken. Good. You can have her? I called to him. My voice echoed through the church. I'm done! Then I walked down the aisle, past the confused guests, past the cousin with her phone out filming, past Helena's parents who looked like they'd aged a decade in 10 minutes. Derek caught up with me in the parking lot. Kevin, wait. Don't, I said, unlocking my car. Don't tell me I'm making a mistake. Don't tell me to think about it. I was going to say I'm proud of you. He put his hand on my shoulder. That took more strength than going through with it would have. I looked at him. She destroyed me in there. I know. I loved her. I know that too. And I'm going to fall apart the second I'm alone. Then don't be alone, Derek said. Come stay with me tonight. We'll get drunk, break some shit in my garage, whatever you need. I shook my head. I need to feel this. All of it. Because if I don't, I'll convince myself to forgive her. He nodded slowly. Call me if... I will. I got in my car and drove away from the church, away from Halena, away from the life I'd been building toward. In my rearview mirror, I saw her run out of the church doors, still in her wedding dress, screaming my name. I didn't stop. The first 3 days were the collapse. I didn't leave my apartment, didn't answer calls, ignored the hundreds of texts from Halena, her family, mutual friends trying to mediate. My phone became a weapon I couldn't touch, buzzing constantly with people who wanted explanations, apologies, drama. Derek came by with food I didn't eat and sat with me in silence while I stared at walls. She's telling everyone you overreacted, he said on day 2, that Nathan's mom died, and he came to tell her. That she was comforting a grieving friend. His mom? I laughed, a hollow sound. I met his mom. She's alive and well in Florida. I figured, but that's the story she's selling. And people are buying it? Some are. Derek leaned back on my couch. Her bridesmaids are blowing up social media saying you humiliated her, that you're controlling and cruel. I don't care what strangers think about me, but knowing our friends believed her lies, that cut deeper than the betrayal. She sent another email, Derek continued. It's different from the others. More desperate. Delete it. Kevin, all of them. Delete every message. Change my number if you have to. I don't want to hear her voice, read her words, or see her face. He studied me for a long moment. You're really done. I died in that church, I said quietly. What walked out was something else. On day 4, I went back to work. Everyone knew. The pitying looks, the whispered conversations that stopped when I entered rooms. My boss called me into his office. Take time if you need it, he said. I need to work, I replied. That's the only thing that makes sense right now. So I worked. 16-hour days, weekends, holidays. I buried myself in code and deadlines and the clean simplicity of problems that had solutions. Halena continued trying to reach me through increasingly creative methods. She showed up at my apartment. I didn't answer. She sent letters through my family. I returned them unopened. She even tried to reach me through LinkedIn, like our relationship could be rebuilt through professional networking. No closure given, no healing offered. 2 months after the wedding, that wasn't. Derek showed me a photo from social media. Halena and Nathan, together at a coffee shop, her head on his shoulder. The caption, "Sometimes the universe gives you a second chance." They're together, Derek said, watching my reaction. I felt nothing. No anger, no jealousy, no vindication. Just emptiness where she used to live. She was never going to admit she wanted him back, I said. This way, she gets to be the victim who moved on after a cruel ex-fiancé abandoned her. She gets the love story she wanted, and the sympathy too. You knew? I knew the moment she ran to him. Everything after that was just confirmation. Derek set his phone down. The story's shifting, though. People are starting to ask questions, like how convenient it was that Nathan showed up, how quickly they got together. Your version is starting to make more sense. I don't need vindication from people who already judged me. Still feels good, though, right? It should have. It didn't. Nothing felt good. I existed in a gray space between heartbreak and numbness, working until exhaustion stopped me from thinking, sleeping when my body demanded it, repeating the cycle. The only thing that changed was me. I stopped caring about explanations, stopped caring about being understood. I learned that sometimes the Cruelest thing you can do to someone who betrayed you is let them live with what they did, without giving them the absolution of your anger. 6 months passed. I'd moved to a new apartment, deleted social media, cut ties with anyone who stayed friends with both of us, started going to the gym at 5 a.m. before work, learned to cook meals that tasted like cardboard but kept me alive. Existed. Then one night, my doorbell rang at 11 p.m. I opened it to find Halena standing there, makeup smudged, shivering in a thin jacket. "He left me," she said before I could speak. "Nathan left me." I stood in the doorway, my hand still on the knob. "I'm sorry," she continued, words tumbling out desperately. "Kevin, I'm so sorry. I made the worst mistake of my life. Nathan wasn't. He isn't. What we had was real. What you and I had was everything, and I threw it away, and I see that now. Please, can we talk? Can I come in?" I looked at her. Really looked. Saw the desperation in her eyes, the same desperation I'd felt standing at that altar, the same helplessness I'd drowned in for weeks after. "No," I said. "Please, 5 minutes. I need you to understand." "I understand perfectly," I said quietly. "You chose him. It didn't work out. Now you want me back because I'm safe. I'm the backup plan." "That's not—" "It is." I started closing the door. "Go home, Halena." "I love you." She shoved her foot in the doorway. "I never stopped loving you." "Then you should have loved me enough not to run to him at our wedding." I met her eyes. "Move your foot." She pulled it back, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't do this. Please. We can fix this. We can start over, go to counseling, anything." "We can't fix something you broke on purpose," I said. "You knew running to him would hurt me. You knew bringing him into our wedding was wrong. You did it anyway. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. And I'm making mine." I closed the door. She knocked for 15 minutes, pleading, sobbing, apologizing. I sat on my couch with noise-canceling headphones, waiting for silence. When it finally came, I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sadness, just emptiness. Some people think revenge means making them hurt. The truth is, it means becoming someone they can't touch. Derek came over the next morning. "She called me crying at 2 a.m., he said. "Said you wouldn't talk to her." "I wouldn't. She says Nathan used her to make some other girl jealous, that she realized too late she loved you, that she's been trying to reach you for months." "She has been. And?" "And nothing," I said. "I'm done being her safety net, done being the man she settles for when her first choice doesn't work out." "Fair enough." Derek pulled out his phone. "There's something else. Your old company reached out. They want you to lead a new division. It's in Seattle. Full relocation package, significant pay increase, your own team." Seattle. 2,000 miles from here, from her. From every memory that still had teeth. When do they need an answer? 2 weeks. I nodded slowly. "I'm taking it." I left without telling anyone but Derek and my family. No goodbye posts, no explanations. I simply disappeared from the city I'd built my life in, the apartment I'd shared moments with her in, the restaurants where we'd made plans that crumbled to dust. Seattle was rain and coffee and starting over. I threw myself into the new role with the same intensity I'd poured into surviving the aftermath. Built a team from scratch, launched products that mattered, earned respect from people who knew nothing about the man I'd been before. At night, alone in my apartment overlooking the water, I sometimes thought about her, wondered if she still thought about me. If Nathan had ever really left, or if that had been another manipulation. If she'd moved on, or if she was still stuck in the wreckage of what we'd been. Then I'd stop wondering, because it didn't matter anymore. I used to believe closure meant understanding why someone hurt you. Now I know it means realizing you don't need to understand to move forward. A year after the wedding, Derek flew out to visit. We got drunk at a waterfront bar, watching cargo ships navigate the dark water. "You're different," he said. "Better or worse?" "Neither. Just colder." I considered that. She taught me that caring too much makes you vulnerable. Loving too hard makes you easy to destroy. "So you stopped caring?" "I stopped caring about people who don't deserve it," I corrected. "There's a difference." He nodded slowly. "She got engaged." I waited for the pain. It didn't come. "To Nathan?" "No. Some guy she met through work. Quick relationship, like she's rushing to prove she's moved on." "Good for her." "That's it? Good for her?" I looked at my friend. "What do you want me to say? That I still love her?" "I don't." "That I forgive her?" "I won't." "That some part of me hopes she's happy?" "I'm too busy building my own happiness to care about hers." "Jesus, Kevin." "You said I'm colder," I said. "This is what cold looks like. It's not anger anymore. It's not heartbreak. It's just absence. She's absent from my life, from my thoughts, from mattering." Derek raised his glass. "To absence, then?" We drank. The conversation moved to other things. But later, walking back to my apartment alone, I thought about what he'd said. About being colder. About changing. He was right. The Kevin who'd stood at that altar, who'd loved Halena with everything he had, who'd planned a future around her presence, that man was gone. Burned up in the fire of her betrayal and reforged into something harder. I didn't know if that was better or worse. I just knew it was necessary. 18 months after the wedding, I was in a meeting when my assistant knocked. "Sorry to interrupt, but there's someone here demanding to see you. She says she's your ex-fiancé." The room went silent. My team knew nothing about my past, and I'd kept it that way deliberately. "Tell her I'm unavailable," I said calmly. "She says she flew here specifically to see you, that it's urgent." I set down my pen. "Tell her I'm still unavailable, and upgrade our building security." My assistant left. The meeting continued. Afterward, my COO pulled me aside. "Want to talk about it?" "Not particularly." "She's still in the lobby. Security can't remove her without you pressing charges for trespassing." I considered this. Thought about continuing to hide, to avoid, to pretend she didn't exist. Then I thought about facing her one final time, not as the devastated man she'd left at the altar, but as who I'd become. "I'll handle it," I said. I took the elevator down to the lobby. She was there, pacing, looking older somehow, worn down by whatever life had dealt her since we'd last spoken. When she saw me, relief flooded her face. "Kevin, thank God. You have 2 minutes," I said, not approaching. "Then I'm calling the police." She flinched at my tone. "I needed to see you. To explain—" "There's nothing to explain. You made your choice. Multiple times. I made mine." "I'm not engaged anymore," she said desperately. "It was a mistake. Everything's been a mistake since the wedding. Nathan and I crashed and burned in 3 months. This other guy, I didn't love him. I was just trying to fill the hole you left." "The hole I left?" I almost laughed. "I wasn't the one who left, Halena. You ran away from our wedding. I just had the dignity not to chase you. Please, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm drowning here, Kevin. I need—" Her voice broke. "I need you to tell me you understand. That some part of you still—" "No." One word. Final as a door slamming. What? No, I repeated. I don't understand. I don't forgive you. And there's no part of me that still feels anything for you except pity. You flew across the country to beg a man who stopped existing the day you destroyed him. The Kevin you knew died in that church. I'm what's left, and I'm not interested in resurrection. She was crying now, mascara running just like it had at the wedding. I love you. I've never stopped loving you. Please don't do this. You don't love me, I said quietly. You love the safety I represented, the stability. You love having someone to fall back on when your first choices fail. But you don't love me. That's not true. Your 2 minutes are up. I pulled out my phone. Leave now or I'm making this official. She stared at me like I'd become someone unrecognizable. Maybe I had. The Kevin I knew would never be this cruel, she whispered. You're right, I said. He wouldn't. He'd probably let you back in, let you hurt him again, let you destroy him piece by piece because he loved you too much to protect himself. But you killed him. So now you get me instead. I turned and walked back to the elevators, leaving her crying in the lobby. I didn't look back. Didn't feel guilt or satisfaction or anything except the cold certainty that I'd finally, completely let her go. In the elevator, my hands shook, not from fear or sadness, but from the adrenaline of confrontation, of standing my ground, of refusing to be the man who forgave because it was easier than staying angry. My phone buzzed. Derek. Heard she showed up. You okay? Me. I'm perfect. And for the first time since standing at that altar, I meant it. 2 years after the wedding that wasn't, I met someone. Her name was Halena. She was a product manager at a partnering company, sharp and funny and carrying her own scars from past relationships. We met over a project dispute and ended up getting coffee to argue about user interface design. The coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into walks along the waterfront. Walks turned into something I hadn't felt in years. Not love? Not yet. But the possibility of it. I didn't tell her about Halena immediately. When I finally did, 6 months into our relationship, we were in my apartment watching rain streak the windows. She left you at the altar? Halena said carefully. And you just walked away? I finished the ceremony without using her name, I said. Then I walked away. That's the most dramatic thing I've ever heard. It felt necessary at the time. Halena was quiet for a moment. Do you still love her? No. Are you sure? Because if there's any part of you that's still... I'm sure, I said firmly. What I felt for Halena was real. The pain was real. But both of those things ended the moment she chose him over me. What came after wasn't love or heartbreak. It was just surviving. And now? I looked at her. Now I'm done surviving. I'm ready to live again. She kissed me then, soft and certain, and I kissed her back, feeling something inside me that had been frozen begin to thaw. We took things slow. I introduced her to Derek when he visited, and he pulled me aside afterward. You smile again, he said. I didn't realize how much I missed that. She's different from Halena. Thank God. She doesn't need me to complete her. We're just two people who chose each other. No drama, no games, just honest. You deserve that, Derek said seriously. After everything, you deserve exactly that. A year after meeting Halena, I proposed. No grand gesture, no big production, just the two of us on a hiking trail overlooking the city, and me asking if she wanted to keep choosing me for the rest of our lives. She said yes. We planned a small wedding. 50 people, mostly close friends and family. No drama, no social media announcements, No public spectacle. Just us, making promises we intended to keep. 3 days before the wedding, Derek called. "Don't freak out," he said. "But Halena knows about the wedding." I sat down slowly. "How?" "Mutual friend posted something. It's going viral in the old circle. Apparently she's losing her mind. That's not my problem. She's threatening to show up." I was quiet for a long moment. "Let her." "What? If she shows up, security will remove her. I'm not hiding from ghosts anymore. I'm not changing my plans because she can't let go. If she comes, she'll see exactly what she lost and exactly what I gained by losing her." Halena walked into the room, saw my face. "What's wrong?" I told her. Watched her process it, waiting for doubt or fear or jealousy. Instead, she said, "I want to meet her." "What?" "If she shows up, I want to meet the woman who was stupid enough to let you go." Halena took my hand. "Because I need to thank her. If she hadn't destroyed you, you wouldn't have become who you are. And I love who you are. I don't believe in perfect moments, but if they exist, that was one." Halena didn't show up to the wedding. The ceremony was perfect. Halena walked down the aisle toward me, and I felt nothing except gratitude and certainty. No ghosts lingered in the corners. No past bleeding into present. Just two people choosing each other, witnessed by people who loved us both. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Derek caught my eye and grinned. The silence that followed was peaceful, not tense. We said our vows. We kissed. We danced. We celebrated. And I didn't think about Halena once. Later, after the reception, Halena and I stood on the balcony of our hotel room, watching the city lights. "I'm happy," I said quietly. "I didn't think I could be again." "You earned it," Halena replied. "Most people don't survive what you went through. They let it make them bitter or broken. But you let it make you careful, intentional, present. She destroyed me. She tried, but you rebuilt yourself better." I pulled her close. "I love you." "I know. You tell me every day." She smiled. "I love you too. And I promise, I'll never make you question that, not even for a second." Some promises are too beautiful to doubt. 5 years after the wedding, that wasn't. I was flying back to my hometown for my father's retirement party. Halena was with me, and so was our daughter, 3 years old and full of questions about everything. At the airport, I saw her. Halena walking through the terminal with a small child holding her hand. She looked tired, older, changed by whatever life had dealt her in the years since we'd last spoken. Our eyes met across the crowd. For a moment, everything stopped. 5 years of distance, of healing, of becoming different people compressed into a single look. I waited for something to surface. Anger, sadness, curiosity, anything. Nothing came. She started to approach, then saw Halena and our daughter. Stopped. The understanding that crossed her face was immediate and devastating. She'd lost her chance, and she knew it. Not just lost it, destroyed it with her own hands years ago. I nodded once, not acknowledgement, not forgiveness, just recognition that we'd both moved on to different lives. She nodded back and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Halena touched my arm. "Was that her?" "Yes." "Do you want to—" "No," I said. "That was goodbye. The one we never got at the church." Our daughter tugged my hand. "Daddy, can I get a snack?" Of course, sweetheart. We walked toward the food court, a family, a unit, something real and solid and earned through choosing each other every single day. Behind us, Halena and whatever life she'd built existed in a space I no longer occupied. We were strangers now, connected only by a shared history that no longer defined either of us. I used to believe some wounds never heal. Now I know they heal differently than we expect. Not by closing, but by becoming part of a larger story where the pain matters less than what we built afterward. Years later, Derek asked me if I'd ever regretted walking away from that altar. We were sitting on my back porch, watching Halena and our daughter plant flowers in the garden. Our son, barely 2, was sleeping in my arms. Not once, I said honestly. Walking away was the best decision I ever made. Even though it hurt? Especially because it hurt. The pain taught me what love shouldn't feel like, how relationships shouldn't work, what I wouldn't accept again. I adjusted my sleeping son. If I'd stayed, if I'd forgiven her, I'd have spent my life wondering when she'd leave again. Always waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's no way to live. She's married now, you know, Derek said. 3rd time. Finally stuck with someone. Good for her. You really don't care? I looked at my family, my wife, laughing as our daughter accidentally sprayed her with the garden hose. My son, peaceful and trusting in my arms. The home we'd built, the life we'd created, the future stretching out before us. I care that she's okay, I said. I wouldn't wish unhappiness on anyone, even her. But do I care beyond basic human decency? No. She's a stranger who once knew me, that's all. You've changed so much since then. I had to. The man she left at that altar couldn't have built this life. He was too soft, too willing to forgive anything for love, too afraid of being alone. I looked at Derek. She burned that man down. What rose from the ashes was someone who knows his worth, who won't accept less than he deserves, who loves deeply but won't destroy himself for someone else's chaos. No regrets then? Only that I didn't walk away sooner, that I ignored red flags because I wanted the fairy tale. But even that, even the pain, led me here. So no regrets. Halena called from the garden. Kevin, come see what your daughter wants to name the flowers. I stood carefully, cradling my son. That's my cue. Derek smiled. You did good, man. Really good. We both did. You stayed with me through the worst of it. That's what friends do. I joined my family in the garden, my son waking up in my arms, my daughter presenting me with a muddy handful of seeds she wanted to plant. Right now, Daddy. My wife, dirty and beautiful and mine. This was the life Helena's betrayal had led me to. Not despite the pain, but because of it. Because sometimes the worst things that happen to us are also the things that force us to become who we're meant to be. I no longer thought about standing at that altar, watching her run to another man. I no longer replayed the confrontations, the aftermath, the months of surviving. Instead, I thought about this. The garden, the laughter, the muddy hands and sleepy children, and the woman who chose me every single day without hesitation. Some people think revenge is making them regret losing you. The truth is, it's building a life so full they become irrelevant to it. And in the end, that's exactly what I did.